Louis Vaughan, the author of Doing Ethics, does an interesting job of breaking sexual morality and the schools of thought of sexual morality into three categories: the conventional category, the moderate category, and the liberal category. So let's take a look at what he says, and then let's unpack it a little bit. According to Vaughan, the conventional view of sexuality states that sex is morally acceptable only between one man and one woman who are legally married to each other. The moderate view, sex is permissible if the consenting partners have a serious emotional connection. And the liberal view, as long as basic moral standards are respected, any sexual activity engaged in by informed consenting adults is permissible. Let's take a look at these a little bit more closely. The conventional view is something that's in line probably with most major religions. One man, one woman, so there's no room for homosexual acts. In the confines of marriage, so no extramarital sex. Here's something I picked up on in reading Vaughan's book. The word consent is not used. It's used in his definition of liberal, informed consenting adults. It's used in his definition of moderate. Sex is permissible if the consenting partners. He does not use it in conventional. I thought it was an oversight. So I looked at three different editions of the text. It hasn't been corrected. It must be deliberate. Vaughan is asserting that consent is not necessary within marriage. Let's look at the moderate view. Sex is permissible if consenting partners have a serious emotional connection. The challenge here is defining the term serious emotional connection. It's possible to have a serious emotional connection with a person for 20 minutes. It's possible to have a serious emotional connection with a person you've just met. We probably all have. We've all had that moment where you meet someone and become instant friends, have an instant serious emotional connection. And serious emotional connection is also a fairly broad term. We have serious emotional connections with our friends, with our parents, with our siblings. This might be a broad definition. Liberal is probably the only definition that actually makes sense coming from Vaughan. As long as basic moral standards are respected, any sexual activity engaged in by informed consenting adults is permissible. I would challenge you to take the conventional view and to take the moderate view and restructure them, especially the moderate view, which I think can be broken into sub-views. I think there are probably a lot of same-sex couples who would be very, very conventional. And I think there are a lot of couples, whether they're same-sex or whether they are opposite sex, who would maybe lean a little bit more toward the liberal side, but not quite liberal. I think using Vaughan as a start on sexual morality, we can build something a little bit better. Alternatively, when we looked at ethical systems, we studied a lot of different relativism. And subjective relativism seemed to not make a whole heck of a lot of sense, because its definition essentially was, if I think I'm right, and if you think you're right, you're right. Perhaps when it comes to sexual morality, subjective relativism works. If the two or more persons involved in the act think it's morally acceptable, maybe it is, because nobody else is involved and nobody else is affected.